Amanda, how did you first get involved with St George's Society?
Well, it was a few years ago now. I came into New York to work with the British International School down on Waterside Plaza. And I think, as is often the case with the St George's network, I think Abigail Greystoke mentioned St George's as I was planning to come over, as did the Department of International Trade. So as I came into New York from the UK to work as a coach with the leadership team at the British School, I had breakfast with Anna, and she told me about St George's and what you were doing, and we made a connection. And that was essentially the first connection. And I think I became particularly interested in those two strands of your work around mentoring scholars, supporting scholars through your scholarship program, and also because a number of years ago, a bit like you, Claire, I'd been a senior civil servant, but I'd worked in the UK Health Department. I was very fascinated with your support to elders and your social work program. So we sort of formed a connection as part of that doing business in New York, but also really fascinated with what the charity was doing, and have stayed involved, and now been doing some direct work with you.
Amazing. And just so how many years has the relationship lasted? That's sort of 4 years?
3 years maybe? Yeah, 3 years, I think. And we're into 21 now. So yeah, 2018.
Great. Yeah. So Amanda, you are one of our fantastic volunteer mentors to our scholars. Can you talk a little bit about that experience, how it's been for you?
Yes, I was connected with Shea during 2019 as she became a scholar, and we met face to face in February 2020 before the world shut down. And I coached her remotely, mentored her remotely, and I suppose it was a no-brainer for me as a master's level coach and mentor to offer that volunteering expertise to the organisation. I found it really beneficial. And it was great to open up my networks to her and support her as she was transitioning from undergraduate to master's level degree.
Wonderful. And what was the most rewarding part of that experience?
I guess it was about working with somebody right at the beginning of their career. You know, most of the clients in our business are senior leaders already. So it was really good to mentor someone right at the start. So yeah, I think getting there early, it's always so good to work with people, a lot of energy. She had lots of questions, and it was just a real pleasure to support her.
Fantastic. And we really appreciate your efforts with her. So thank you. Amanda, tell me about Blend.
We've got 35 plus coaches, all most senior, experienced master practitioners, and we have a range of skills, which means we can match an individual leader or team to the best coach for them. So what we offer is individual and team coaching. We offer leadership development programs. We do all the psychometrics, MBTI, ProfitTK. We will develop programs that fit the organization. So we'll have a conversation, because that then allows us to develop the offer to fit the organization. So we don't really do off the shelf. We'll fit it to you, because every organization's different. So it's whatever you want, all remote. So we're available on East Coast time when you need us, all of that. And we've got coaches with a range of backgrounds. So we've got a coach that currently coaches the board of the FA, the Football Association for the UK. And we've got a coach who was a Buddhist monk for 15 years, who coaches particularly men in the C-suite to think about how they balance business performance with the well-being challenges that has been raised for all leaders leading through the pandemic. So we've got a full range of coaches to match, depending on what you need for the tailored offer.
So Amanda, last year, pretty traumatic for everybody, but within that there's also been some opportunities. Can you talk about how the pandemic has impacted Blend and your work?
Well, like every business, we were face-to-face with our clients. And so overnight, we went remote. And so I suppose that's the biggest difference. I had already been working about 25% remote. So I already had the platform, but suddenly locked down in the Zoom or MS Teams box like everybody else, I think was the biggest change. What we also noticed was many organizations, as they sort of push the emergency button, they thought that they needed to concentrate just on the emergency response and not supporting their leaders through this. So we made an offer to a whole healthcare system in the UK, probably equivalent to the greater New York area. And we onboarded 20 coaches to work remotely with leaders and their teams. And when I say leaders, I mean reporting to the C-suite or in the C-suite. So dealing with the sort of business transformation, the business continuity challenges of running big organizations that happen to be healthcare. So also they were running very much towards the pandemic. So I guess biggest changes for us, like everyone going remote, but actually walking with leaders through the pandemic as coaches, which has been fascinating because we really have been side by side with hundreds of leaders. And what about you, Claire?
What about us? So the wider context, if you think about our beneficiaries, we have 3 strands of types of individuals that we're supporting, and our seniors felt incredibly vulnerable and scared about the health issues and isolated. We had scholars who were at the beginning of their life and careers, and the world turned upside down, and so how were they going to get jobs? And some of them had fundamental issues to deal with about, they lost their jobs that were helping pay their way through college, or their families were impacted. So some of them joined food banks and needed additional support. And then we had a third group of families who would normally come over here for treatment at a really traumatic point for their families as their children are being treated for neuroblastoma. And so visas were an issue, and then coming to a strange place with a sort of a health compromised child is a really kind of challenging thing. So the team navigated that and worked really well to provide that care. But I think you mentioned it earlier, there's a sense that the way they operated had to sort of change because everything became remote. So rather than being in person and sort of providing care and comfort face to face, they were having to do it over screen. And so that has been a real challenge to recognize that those experiences were not on our social workers, for instance, they were experiencing the same thing that other social workers and other care providers were experiencing. At the same time, we had how we make our office function. And so we had the same journey that everybody else had of sort of navigating Zoom or Teams or every kind of platform that people are using, how to do that. And that has advantages, but I think we all really miss those sort of water cooler moments and we've had to be really conscious of the different challenges and stresses that we as individuals are going through, because remember, although we're providing a service to others, we are all individuals, and at different times we're going to be feeling it either personally, or things are going to happen to our families or in our neighborhoods. So I think it's brought people closer together, but it's also raised some tensions that just need sort of navigating as we're all being kind to each other and just recognizing the challenges of the individual.
And I guess you found in your team, as we found when we've been coaching teams, US and UK, that some people actually have taken to remote working and get on with this quite well and might want to stay remote working for a lot longer. And other people are like, let me out of the box. I need to meet real human beings. Like, it's hard to do business not being face to face. So, we've done a lot more team coaching than we thought we would do, helping teams navigate how they work together and how they lead their business, I think has been really challenging, and so much has changed. I guess for you, being an events-based, member-based organization must have been really challenging.
Well, and I think that you hit on something as well with the preferences that individuals have. So if you like to just sort of hide away in your office and get on with stuff, when you're doing that remotely, that can become very difficult for other colleagues to know what's going on. Whereas if you get your energy and really like being with people, you can feel like, well, what am I doing? What am I actually accomplishing? And you're right, with our sort of event schedule, that's been a challenge. You know, our members have wanted to remain connected, so having to come up with events that fill that gap and provide that social connection hasn't been the same thing. We've had 2 in-person events recently, and just the joy of people being able to say, hello, a real person, has been fantastic.
And even our coaches, although they're very skilled at coaching through this medium, we've had to add layers of support on to keep that social. So
and just that's one funny anecdote with all of us now putting in walking the dog, or something you wouldn't put if you're in the office, but now it's acceptable because and different dramas that are unfolding on a Zoom call because we're all working at home, and family and deliveries and dogs, cats, whatever, all kind of don't care. They're your badly behaved co-workers.
Yeah, well, you may have seen, if you watched the video back, I opened the door because I've got a little bichon who decided he wasn't going to be in the house. He needed to be in my office, which is in a separate building. I don't know how he broke out, though, because I did lock the dogs away. So that's a challenge for later.
Amanda, you've been incredibly helpful with St George's Society and with me personally on just identifying some of the challenges on how to have a high-performing team and sort of make sure we've got the blend right with our individuals. And we have a wonderful team, but I think what I'm most interested in is how to maximise the impact and the performance and play to the strengths of the individuals. And at the moment, we're going through a recruitment process, and you are using MBTI and Myers-Briggs with us to identify who we've got in the team and our individual preferences. And then hopefully with the appointment of our new person, just make sure that we're all understanding the preferences and traits of that individual, as well as the skills that they will bring to the role, so that we can all accommodate that and work to the strengths of each of us individually to make it a sort of higher performing team. It's been very valuable. And I think for some of the team, they've never done that sort of test before. And each of them have sort of said it was been really insightful and fascinating. So a very useful piece to do. But perhaps you can talk a little bit about Profit and TK, what those sort of models look like.
So yeah, we're using that. And I think any psychometrics are really helpful when you are growing teams, developing teams, thinking about the business direction, because they will help you understand. You get like a reflection of yourself. What am I like, and what are these other team members like, and how do we maximize our potential? I think with any of the psychometrics, the opportunity for a coach to feed that back is the most valuable thing, the conversation about what this means. Now, I love Profit. 7 of us are trained in Profit. It's been developed in the UK, but it's used internationally, and it's aimed at the C-suite, at the CEO, the company president, and their team. So it's aimed at looking at how we prefer to do business here and what the business challenges are. So it looks at the 4 stages of business: create, design, operate, and improve. And then each of you has an individual report online, like you would the MBTI, and you will get an individual feedback on where you sit in that business cycle. So you start to look at, does this team cover all the business functions? And if we don't, how do we address those deficits? It also looks at your motivations. What gives you energy? Because what gives us energy we'll do first and we'll do most. So trying to think about your energy and your inclinations. Some of the inclinations are similar to MBTI. Are you present or future focused? Do you like people or things? So there's some familiarity. But particularly for the C-suite who've like, yeah, been there, done MBTI, we want something new. This tends to be good for them. It's quicker to do the online instrument, takes about 10 minutes. So, you know, a slow cup of coffee, grande coffee, you'll get it done. And if feedback can be a bit quicker as well than the MBTI, so busy executives, it suits them. But the beauty of it is once you've done the individual report, you can think, well, I've got a CEO and a chief finance officer. Let's look at our relationship based on our two reports. How do we work together? And then how the whole team can do it. And then you can look at the whole organization. So really good for teams, relationships, onboarding. So it's fairly new. We're one of 250 organizations that can offer it in the world. So, you know, it's getting some traction with government departments and very senior healthcare organization leaders because it fits that sort of C-suite boardroom dynamic, really. So we're excited about that. And TKI, Thomas Kleiman indicates, been around a while. It looks at how you handle conflict, your preferred style. And so it really helps with negotiation in teams and helping people develop different skills for negotiating in different scenarios. I want something, you want something else. How do we, rather than run away from this, how do we work through this to a win-win?
We all need the win-wins right now.
We all need the
like compromise. Yeah. Amazing. Amanda, thank you for that. Can you just, one of the advantages of being a supporter of St George's Society for our members is that some of our corporates offer incredible deals. Can you talk about the member perk that Blend Limited is offering?
Yeah, so we're excited to be offering a perk. So if people want coaching with us, individuals or teams, will offer a 30-minute free consultation with the coach that we think would work well with them, and then a 10% discount on the whole engagement. And then whether it's a one-to-one from a member request directly or one of your bigger corporate members wanting to work with us, we'll donate back a proportion of the funds to you guys. And Blend wants to partner with organizations who share our values. So, you know, for us, kindness, being the difference, enabling others, and being optimistic. There's a big need for us to find our hope again and our optimism that tomorrow can be better. So yeah, working with you in that way, doesn't matter whether it's an individual engagement from one of your members or a bigger piece of work with one of your corporate partners, same deal.
And that's wonderful. I think that's something we can all get behind. So win-win-win sounds like.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your continued support, and we love having you as one of our partners, but also coaches.